Well, if at first you don't succeed, try again, right? So let me catch you up on what I've been doing. I took a good look at the process that I did for smelting, and I've just really determined that I had just an insane quantity of quartz in the mixture. This is my fault. I cut corners on trying to concentrate the Galena down, and made some very optimistic assumptions, and the result was what you saw. So I would like to talk for a minute. I'll bring this up here where you can see it. This is the slag from last time. Let's see, I can get that up here where you got it. So this slag here is the first slag that I did, and you notice it's very glassy, and you can see the quartz in it. But what was interesting to me is the second slag that I did. See, it's crumbling apart. And if you look inside of it, at various places, you can see where it's a dull gray versus the shinier material. And I think that's a factor of it being the more basic slag, especially the crumbly. That's something that I've seen in other smelting videos. Once again, Jason Baker. So I don't have a good answer for whether this is going to be rerunnable or not, but it was certainly interesting to look at and see. The second thing I've attempted to do here, this is about 8 pounds, and it is predominantly Galena with still quite a bit of quartz. I ran this through the sluice that I have, and it overloaded the sluice, so I ran it again and again and again, and I ran this a great number of times, and I dried it out until I got this concentrate. This is about 8 pounds, and I'm going to try and smelt some of this today. So that's what today hopefully we'll do, is reduce this down and maybe get some lead out of it. So we'll head down that path in a minute. The last thing that I want to discuss is I've got 30 pounds of powdered ore that I've discussed previously, and I had a look at it, and I did a test where I started off with a measuring cup with exactly 500 milliliters of water in it, and I weighed it, and then I added some powder, and that brought the weight up 91 grams and the volume up 33 milliliters. And doing the math on that, you can work out the specific gravity and then compare it to the specific gravity of a mixture of Galena and quartz that both have known specific gravities. Now it's a bunch of assumptions kind of piled all together, but if you do the math on it, it comes up saying that that's about 6% Galena in that powder. I've got 30 pounds of it. That says that I've got, what was it? Oh, my math brain has gone to bed. Regardless, I've got 1.8 pounds of Galena in 30 pounds of ore. And then when Galena is reduced down, that'll only give me about a pound of lead, with, hopefully some silver in it. I'm not sure if that's going to be worth going after. I've considered multiple ways to get that out. Probably the most creative is to take 3 salts: table salt with sodium chloride, take potassium chloride that's used in water softener, and magnesium chloride that's used in ice melting salts. And if you mix those in the appropriate ratios, you can actually get a very low temperature melting salt, on the order of 600-700 degrees, almost there with lead. And if you put that in, I was thinking maybe I would be able to float the quartz off of the Galena, which would then settle, and then I could skim the quartz. The specific gravities don't work out, so I might still be able to do something, but to be honest, it sounds like a mess. It's just not going to work. More realistically, I could probably use very large quantities of flux to the powdered ore. I just don't know if that's going to produce a viable amount of material. In fact, I might even have to treat that like gold smelting at that point and put a collector metal in the bottom, possibly even some of the lead if I can pull this off of this more rich mixture. Throw that lead in the bottom of the pot and then let whatever galena there is adhere to that. All things to be explored, but for right now, today's one and only goal is to take this rich concentrate material that I've got, and I'm going to mix up a flux that's going to be mostly soda ash, just a little bit of borax, and that's just going to be about it for my flux. And one thing I did discover that I'll mention in my first video on smelting, I talked about adding a little bit of carbon to take up any metal oxides and reduce those down. In my research, what I discovered is that that's kind of counterproductive. Having iron in there, if there's any lead oxide, the iron will strip the oxygen and make iron oxide and just leave the lead behind. So I don't need the carbon. So I won't be putting any of that in for any reason for a while. This mix is a lot more quartz than I care for, but it's the best I could do with the equipment that I have. So I'll put some borax in to hopefully thin the mix up a bit, and I'll try to leave some room, and if I stir it and it's too thick to pour, I just throw more borax at it until I can get it right. So this will be a bit of a test. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of this, mix it up, and get her cooking. So I went with 1,000 grams of material and 1,000 grams of soda ash and 250 grams of borax. Mixed it up thoroughly, and I put all but that much of it in the pot because I think it'll all fit in the crucible, but I'm worried about it boiling over. So I'm going to get it hot, let it melt down a bit, and then I'll throw the rest in. Then once it's smoothed out, and quit boiling, we'll take it down to temperature, or up to temperature, and we'll make sure it's got some iron, and we'll let it cook for a little bit, pour it out, and see what we got. Okay, so it's cooked down quite a little bit. The volume has gone down considerably. I've got the rest of that material that I'm going to put in, let it finish cooking down, and then we can get started on, hopefully, getting some lead out of it. So let me get my respirator on, some gloves, and I'm going to shut the fire off and add the material and kick her back on. Well, according to the temp gauge, we're about 2,020 degrees. Everything seems to have settled down. There's some kind of a foam or a froth on top of it, but it doesn't seem to be bubbling. Not sure what that's about. But I think I've done all the damage here I can do, so I'm going to gear up, shut it down, and give it a pour. Well, I'm actually quite a bit happier with that pour. We'll see how it turns out. There was I'd say that neither piece of this iron here was consumed at all. And there was about a piece that big, I don't know if you saw it or not, pour out into the mold. And I I would have stopped it if I'd have realized it was there, but I didn't, so. Oh well. Everything just needs to cool down now. This has got a very crusty surface on it, which is kind of a basic slag thing. We'll see how this works. If it works, I'm going to need more soda ash, because I've basically used up all my soda ash. I started with about 5 pounds. At the beginning of this is my 3rd smelt, and I'm out. So, we'll see. And good Lord, it just started to rain. I gotta get things put inside. Well, the storm's passed. Wasn't much of a storm, just mostly sprinkle. Looks like we got that real basic stony looking slag. Moment of truth. And that looks to me like at least a mostly lead. I've got lead up here. And I don't know what these little blobs are. Oh, pardon me. I don't know what these little blobs are. But we'll figure that out shortly. I'm about to take a hammer and knock this top off. I may have, hopefully, metal in this area. And all slag down here. There may be a matte phase in the middle. I don't know until I hit it with a hammer. So I'm looking at this. Get my camera angle here, right? Clearly I've got metal here, and you know, I see kind of a crystalline layer in there. I don't know if that's to be considered a sulfide layer, a matte layer. Looks like I've got a little bit of crunchy, silvery looking stuff up to the top of it. Let's go ahead and knock that off there and see what we get. You know, I'll take that. You can see where that whole end of that steel bar has just been eaten off. I kind of wish it wasn't melted into my lead, but a simple solution to that is I will take a torch, melt this lead off the steel, and I'll just throw that piece of steel in the next batch, and if there's any lead stuck to the side of it, it ends up in the next batch. But I think that was a success. We've got lead. Not the perfect, most cleanest, but that's viable. And once I've got several batches done like this, I can throw them all back in the crucible, melt them down with some fresh, good, clean flux, and remove all this and get it all into one solid, smooth, consistent ball. So that was a success. The only bad thing is right now I've used up all my soda ash, so I got to go get more. Ironically, I looked into this Arm & Hammer soda ash, which is super washing soda. That's perfectly usable, but it's got a lot of water bound up in it. So you have to use about 4 times as much, this is already quite a bit that I'm using. So I'm going to go see if I can find some Pool pH Plus, which is sodium carbonate or soda ash, and it's the anhydrous version, so that I will be able to just use that and smelt my other 2 or 3 loads of this, and we'll see what we get out of it. Alrighty, thanks.